Hi, I'm Dr. Felice Gersh, and I'm going to give you 5 incredibly helpful steps that you can implement immediately to help you to stop the relentless advance of dementia. These 5 steps will include how to incorporate more sun and nature in life, adding healthy fats and vegetables, adding music, particularly the music that was loved in the time when the patient, your loved one, was healthy and fine. Adding movement, lots of healthy activity, any way that you can, and help sleep in the dark, lots of darkness to help bring out melatonin. So we're going to go over these 5 helpful steps that you can implement to improve the life quality of your loved one. So let's begin. The first one I mentioned was introducing more sun and nature into the life of your loved one with dementia. So how can you do that? It can be very simple. Even sitting by a sunny window and looking out into a beautiful scene, perhaps some trees, some plants, some flowers, that alone can be very helpful. And now that it's winter, maybe the sun isn't going to be out as much, but as often as you can. And if it's a snowy scene, that can be equally effective. Get out as much as possible. If you can't do walking, do wheelchair and get out to be under the sun. It's amazing what the sun can do. In the summer, it can actually increase vitamin D, but more than just that, it also increases other antioxidants that are produced in the skin. And these actually are very good for the brain. As well, it just makes people feel happy to be out in the sun and in nature. And there are many, many studies to support the benefits for all sorts of aspects of health, cognitive health and mood as well. So try to make it at least 30 minutes every day of lots of sun and nature. And how about the next step? Step number 2, incorporating healthy fats and vegetables into the diet. It turns out that it's really amazing, the benefits of adding omega-3. Now, omega-3 consists of 3 types of fats, but the one that has the most evidence for benefit for cognitive health is DHA. But mood is also a big issue with patients who have dementia. So we want you to also include the full spectrum. So make sure you also include EHA, because that also can be incredibly helpful. So you want to include all of the helpful and healthy omega-3s, the EPA, the DHA. These are all wonderful fats for the brain and for cognition and for mood. So be sure you include healthy omega-3 fats in the diet. Now, what about other kinds of fat? Well, it turns out that plant fats are also very, very important. You want to have healthy cell membranes and even cholesterol. Now, I know you've probably been taught that cholesterol is evil. Well, it turns out cholesterol is an incredibly healthy advocate for your cells. Now, in the brain, you have a lot of cholesterol. So what you don't want is oxidized cholesterol, the kind of cholesterol that creates oxidative stress and damage. So what I would recommend is watching the cholesterol, working with your doctor, but making sure it doesn't get too low, because very low cholesterol is actually not great for the brain. What about step number 3, incorporating music, particularly the music that your patient, your loved one, really enjoyed as a young person? We had studies that when you put a person into the environment when they were well, when they were happy and young, say in their 20s and 30s, when they were really at their peak health, that kind of music, it brings back memories, it brings back emotions and cognition that actually help the brain to be healthier and happier. So play the kind of music that your loved one really enjoyed, whatever it was, going back as far as the 30s, the 40s, the 60s, the 70s, whatever that music was. Play it often, play it regularly, and really help your loved one to listen and get involved and talk about the emotions that music brings up. And how about the next step? Step number 4, movement, which leads in from the music, because when you hear music, you want to move. So movement is critical. It turns out that exercise is probably the number one medicine, if you can call it that, that helps heal every aspect of health, every aspect of the body. So we know that exercise can improve what? It can improve amazing things. It can improve your attitude, it can improve your gut microbiome. And I didn't mention that, but it turns out that the gut microbiome is incredibly linked to the health of the brain. So by helping to improve the gut, you actually improve the brain. And it turns out that when you go back to step number 2 that I mentioned, adding vegetables add polyphenols and antioxidants. They also add fiber. Fiber helps the gut to be healthy, and actually so does exercise. There's data that when you exercise, when you have any kind of movement, it actually increases the diversity of the gut microbiome. And the health of the gut links to the health of the brain. So we want to have movement, we want to have vegetables, we want to have movement of the bone, movement of the muscles. It turns out that the health of the muscle actually links to the health of the brain, as does the health of the bone. And all of these are linked to movement. When you have movement and resistance, when you're working with gravity, you improve the health of bone and muscle. That also improves cognition through a number of mechanisms. In fact, it turns out that bone health and muscle health actually link to glucose regulation, which is very important for reducing inflammation and helping to have proper glucose getting into the brain. And also that it actually increases testosterone production, which is also very important for brain health in males and in females. So the step number 5, sleep in darkness. It turns out that you have to have melatonin for healthy brain function. When you're in a room where there's a lot of light, and a lot of people with dementia sleep with a lot of light because they get afraid. And I understand that. What you should do is have a movement detector. So when they move, it can turn on the light. So if they need to get out of bed, a light will go on. We definitely don't want to have a fall risk, but we also don't want to have too much light. Even a little bit of light that leaks through and seeps through the eyelids can actually lower the production of melatonin. Melatonin has many, many functions. It's a very, very potent antioxidant in the body that helps with the brain. When you sleep and you have darkness, you also make melatonin in the intestinal tract, in fact, more than even in the brain, which helps to maintain the proper circadian rhythm and gut health. And it turns out that people with dementia have a disturbed circadian rhythm. They're like off the beat. That's why they often have problems and they sleep poorly. They wake up maybe at early hours, like 4 o'clock in the morning. If you create a regular sleep schedule and make the room very dark, but you put in a motion detector so that when they need to have light, they can get it, or a flashlight by the bed, but don't have the light on all the time while they're sleeping. That is going to reduce their melatonin production, and that will not help their brain function in any way. So if we go back and review it, we want to help your loved one to slow the progression of dementia, and not only slow it, but maybe even reverse it. Some of the things I've suggested may actually have that power. Can you imagine to actually do some reversal, not just slowing the dementia process? So we want to have your loved one get plenty of sun, get out in nature, eat lots of healthy fats, which nourish the brain, help the gut, and improve function in all sorts of ways. We want them to eat a lot of healthy vegetables, all sorts, green leafy vegetables and root vegetables, because vegetables have potent antioxidants, polyphenols, and fiber, all of which combine to improve cognitive and emotional wellness. We want your loved one to listen to music, the music that they loved when they were younger, which is going to help to trigger memories, cognition, and emotions that are all positive. Don't forget movement. Movement is critical to health. We want to have healthy muscles and healthy bone and a healthy gut microbiome and movement of any sort. That's why I didn't say just exercise, because whatever movement you can get your loved one to do is beneficial. And lastly, sleep, but not just any sleep. It has to be in real darkness to help the production of melatonin for cognitive and emotional and gut health, which all link together. So by following these 5 amazingly effective steps, you can help your loved one to slow the relentless progress of dementia. Thank you.